So, I thought I'd do a little recording of FAANG for the weekend, and maybe the new one, Mango, but this is going to be kind of a long video, so get ready. Here you can see we have Facebook, and again, this is the algorithm, so it's got a little performance chart here. Now, if you just bought and held for the last 1,000 candles, essentially, you would have made 0.22 on their performance on the algorithm, but 30% on the asset performance by just buying and holding. So you can see all the indicators that we use here. We use the 9-day, we use the 50-day, the 21. I have stochastics that I don't use. We can use the Alpha Trends anchored VWAP. We have dividends, earnings, current strategy up there, and drawings. So essentially you can see here in February 15th, we got a trigger to buy. You can see some pretty impressive, if we drag this volume shelf back here to the recent highs of September 10th, you can see there are a significant amount of people holding this up here at $333 on average. This gap here, I think this gap is going to get filled. And you're going to see Q2 and Q1 earnings should be interesting for Facebook. Did they hold on to their Meta stuff? Did they move to something a little bit less aggressive than $10 billion spending on that? But in my mind, again, if you would have bought, again, here at the 220 level, you're slightly up. I probably wouldn't have bought at this level. And the reason I wouldn't have bought at this level is because I thought 200 was a key level just based on previous, if I look at the daily, and we move to the daily here, I thought 200 was a key level because when I came back here, that's where we were right at about the time with the 21 day and the 50 day. Right here, I thought it might get down to about the 170s, but I didn't think that 220 was a solid bounce point. And the reason was there's also these gaps here, and this bottom gap at about 197, I wanted that to get filled. So I did think it was going to come down. So you can see this huge downturn in this MacD. Still, today, we're only at 54 on the RSI on this daily. The 200-day has just started to come down. The 50-day is still coming down, but the 9 and the 21, they're trending upwards. So will we continue that trend? Remains to be seen, but that's one that I wanted to look at. So Facebook is one. Then we'll go to Apple, and we'll look at the daily on Apple first. You can see, well, this is the 4-hour. It immediately goes to the algorithm, and you can see over 1,000 candles. If we had purchased each one of these 20 positions over 1,000 candles, we would have made 115% versus just buying and holding would have made us 172. So there's not a tremendous amount of benefit to the algorithm, and that goes well, for solid stocks with huge earnings. That's kind of where you're at. So if we pull this back again, I'm going to push this forward to the December highs here, December 10th, right around there. You can see there was a sell trigger here. We had another buy trigger at 158. I was telling people 155 was a buy trigger. You could see that MacD cross up coming. Right now, I would not get into the stock. Your RSI is at 70. There is no reason to be in this stock at $70. At 70 on the RSI. I shouldn't say that. It's at about 175. The highs back here are 182, I believe. Yeah, I think that's the 52-week high. 182 right there. Seems to be the 52-week high. I think you're going to get back there. And if you look, what's ironic is back here when it was at 182 back in December 13th, where I have the volume indicator, the RSI was at 69. So essentially when you're getting the RSI this high and your high is 174, you're making lower highs, which isn't always great. But again, when we go to the daily, you'll see an interesting thing here with Apple. you'll see that the highs back in December, if I pull this back to this day, I think that was the day, yeah. So if we pull that back, you'll see the volume shelf is set up right here for support right at the 170 mark. There was a support level here at about 160. It broke through that 200-day, but once it broke through that 200-day, like every other time it broke through the 200-day, it just shot up. You can see it uses that 200-day as support level right there. Sometimes it breaks it, other times it doesn't and just kind of bounces up like here. So the next catalyst for this is probably, I don't think there's another event here coming, but the earnings on April 27th. So my guess is that you'll probably get back down to this volume shelf at about 164, 165. That would be where I would get in on this transition. I don't think that 50-day is coming down to break that 200-day. Next one we're going to go over is Amazon. And you'll see on Amazon, this will run the algorithm, the 4-hour chart, and you'll see it's completely oversold. It's at 69 on the RSI. That MacD is coming down. This one will probably, let's pull this volume shelf right here back to its recent highs in November. And if we look at that one, you'll see there's a volume shelf right here at 3183 that looks to be probably support. My guess is that 200-day is going to provide some support as well. I think this one is a good one. You see some gaps down here. They've already been filled. This one hasn't been filled on the way back down. I don't expect it to be filled on the way back down. But you can see this chart's interesting. Right now, I would not be in this one. I would not be placing a new position in this one. I might be selling if you had the opportunity to sell. Try and take some profits off the table. So there's Amazon. Let's look at the daily on Amazon. Probably doesn't look much better. Oh, I don't want to favorite daily. I want to look at the daily. So when we look here, yeah, we've got some gaps here. This was filled, not filled yet. This one was filled on the way up. It looks like on the way down and up. So you've got some gaps here around 2,800. I don't know that I'd expect it to go back down that low again. I could be wrong again with 50 basis point hikes and the market. You know, some of the things in the Ukraine war. I don't know that I'll necessarily look at it going down that much, but it could. I just, in my mind, I think you wait for a better price on this one. It looks like it's just kind of using that 200-day as a resistance level, and that's ironically where we have this volume shelf as well when you pull it back here to its highs. So we do have that significant kind of volume shelf here right at about 3301 or so. And there's another shelf above it, but it's clear that in my mind is where it's probably going to capitulate for a little while. I think you might touch this 9-day, the green line right there. I think you might touch that one down in the next couple of days at 3100. So if you're looking to get into that one, that's one where I would probably look to get in. Now, the next name on FAANG is Netflix. And Netflix is an interesting one because they've kind of said, hey, we're not going to grow in the U.S. anymore. We've kind of hit our peak in the U.S. But what they are going to do is launch a gaming option. And I don't know that it's going to be an option on your current subscription, if it's going to be included in your current subscription. If you're a Prime member on Amazon, they already have Amazon Gaming. It's some games on your computer. I don't know that it's essentially mobile gaming, but it looks like Netflix is going after the mobile gaming crowd. So you've got an RSI here at 53. You're kind of capitulating here right in this realm. What's ironic and funny is when I look at pull it back here to kind of the recent highs back in November, and you can see it kind of just fell off a shelf here. There's a huge gap here between 408 and 500, but this was a $600 stock that is now trading at 374. When I look at this one, we did have a buy at 351 right here, and you've ridden it up to 370. You're still in because the MacD hasn't necessarily crossed down, but I do think you're going to look at a cross down probably in the next day or so where the 9-day gets under there. I think you could easily pick this one back up in the 360s. But what is interesting is back here, there is nobody that's hanging out who still holds that purchased it at these times. If I pull it back a little, you'll see these still go up, and you've got some people who have bought it back there. If I pull it back even to April, you'll see there's a shelf right here, but the large majority of shareholders are holding in this range. There's a significant range here of 376 to about 380. In my mind, that's where you're going to see a sweet spot, and I think you're going to start to see it trade in that realm. It's going to take probably this earnings that's coming up on April 19th here, and that to bring it up to this top shelf level. You can see the gap forms right in there. If we look at the daily on Netflix, it's the same kind of thing. And we pulled this all the way back. Let's pull this one all the way back to maybe the COVID era, I should say. March of 2020. If I pull this, we'll pull that back to here. And we've got enough candles in here. You'll see clear volume shelf right around that gap. So is it going to make a break for that? Probably at some point. I would think it gets back up to that 450 to 500 range. But this is one that I don't know that it'll ever hit the 600s like it did, at least in the near term. You can see that the RSI is right at about 50. And the last time the RSI was at 50, it was up here in the 600 range. So this one, I have to look at the catalyst. I'm not a huge believer in Netflix. I don't currently own Netflix in my portfolio. But the next one, GOOGL, that's one I do own. And by the way, I'm just looking at the GOOGL, not the GOOG. And the reason is GOOGL actually has voting rights. So if I pull this one back to its highs, February 2nd, you can see that there was a huge gap up here and it just continued to fall down. We would still be in this one. This was a buy at 26.20 right after the earnings. It was funny because I think I bought at 2,600. I sold out here at about 3,000, I believe. So I enjoyed that entire ride up, and I didn't get back in at this 26.20. I probably should have, considering this run. I thought it was going to be another fake out, but you can clearly see that there's a floor here at about 2,400 on this day, January 24th, during those lows. It hit that on 1 month later, February 24th as well, on that candle. But it's a clear cross up on this one. This one was kind of a fake out where it got us in, got us down there for a loss. This is making up your gains. Now, what's interesting about this, it's up above the 200 level. Your RSI is at 65. So like Apple, like Facebook, I don't know that I would necessarily start a position in this one. If you're looking at FAANG, so far the only one that I thought you could start a position in is Netflix. That's the only one that's kind of been kept down. I don't know that I would necessarily do it. But you can see this volume line, and it's declining. That's not a good thing when your price is going up, but your volume is declining, because that just means that you'll probably come down. There's a clear volume shelf here at about 2684, where you got 1.937 million people still holding. The volume shelf up here is just starting to form. It's going to take quite a while for that to actually build. Let's take a look at the daily on this one so that we can see if it's above the 200-day. It just crossed the 200-day. You had this death cross right here on March 9th, which took just very little for it to get back. That 50-day is starting to move positive again. If we pull this one all the way back to our, and again, this is a daily. If we go back to March 2020, where the COVID lows are, we'll start to see where people are actually holding this one. you can see there's a clear volume shelf right here, ironically, at about 1,500. I'm one of those people. I believe I got in around the COVID area. But other than that, you can see there's a volume shelf here building at 2837. If we break below this 2675 again, you don't have a lot of support down here. Their earnings are coming April 26th. So you have about a month prior to getting in on earnings. So I think those that's my look at FAANG for you. And GOOG won't look much different. You're going to see the same exact thing on this one. So I don't necessarily predict this one as being any different. You can see there was a buy. We've got a buy. It's the same exact thing, same exact chart. Just buy the GOOGL because you do get voting rights with that one. So that's our look at FAANG. In the next video that I'll post, I'll look at the new term Mango, which includes some new ones, new stock features in this one. But Mango seems to be the new term for the new FAANG, kind of going forward. It includes NVIDIA. One of the other things, I think Microsoft. But I would probably include Microsoft in your FAANG names. I've been a big believer in Microsoft. You can see in the algorithm, we've only got a 32% versus an 88% buy and hold. You had a clear buy here at 289, and it's up at 303. So you've gotten almost 10% out of this one if you bought it down here at these lows. The 200-day is kind of trending downward. The 50-day has been trending upward. The 9 and the 21 are trending upward. You've got all kinds of gaps above in this one. You finally covered these gaps right here that are back from September and October. So, again, would I start a position in here? The RSI is at 59. The MacD looks like it's probably going to either cross down or continue. Let's take a look at the daily, and I'll make my final opinion on Microsoft to see if this one, you've got a clear volume shelf coming here. Let's pull this one all the way back again to the March 2020 COVID lows, and we'll pull it back to there. You can see, look at the volume back here in March. You see a similar volume spike here in June around these earnings. People wanted this one to continue up. So I think it's just a matter of time. But you can see there's a clear volume shelf here at 280 to 300. This other huge volume shelf at 210 to 216. I don't think you're ever getting back there. There is a gap here on the daily at 257 to 260. I don't know that you're necessarily going to fill that, although it is using the 200-day as kind of a resistance level. It looks like that death cross on this daily came here March 15th. You've got a downward trending volume line. You do have a MacD that probably is going to cross over. It does look like the RSI is moving more towards the sell side. So would I start a position? I would wait until this one gets under 300, probably around the 290 level. In my mind, I think that's a great area to start a position. So you've got your Facebook, you've got your Amazon, you've got your Apple, you've got your Netflix, you've got your Google, and we threw in Microsoft as an extra. I'll do Mango on the next video, but there's your look at FAANG.